Hi, this is Em. This is going to be a quick video today because I just wanted to answer a question that someone left on one of my YouTube videos, and the question was from Carla, and it's, does anyone know how much paint is added to the water/alcohol/vinegar mixture? Since I'm starting a playlist for color enhancement, and at the end of that video I said, well, if you want to get started quick, then just grab some 50-50 vinegar to rubbing alcohol and some fabric paints and go for it. But I didn't really go into any detail because the video wasn't really about mixtures and formulas. So I read that comment, although it wasn't on that specific video, it was on a different video, but it was about color enhancing, and the same thing, it was about a mixture I was showing from, I don't know, a video from a year or two ago. I thought, you know, that's a really good question. If someone wants to get started quickly, I probably should address that question. And that's what this is. It's just going to be talking about a couple of techniques that I use with paint and solution just to help get you started if you didn't want to wait for me doing some more long-winded tutorials about formulas and all of that kind of stuff. So if this sounds like something you're interested in, then let's get started. Okay, first I want to say a quick word about what we're doing. I pulled some of these yellow potentilla. They're a bush potentilla. They are a little more yellow. They go to the ecru yellow side when they come right off the bush. But here's an example of a flower that goes and kind of turns this creamy yellow color fairly quickly. They're really pretty flowers, and once I tint them, they'll last for years and years, but they'll be a little bit more vibrant, a little bit more yellow, which is what we're going to play with today. But I wanted to show you these potentillas here, these 5 potentillas here, are basically only a year old, so they're still pretty, so you can see how quickly they go to cream from being a little bit more. See, here, this one's a little bit more subdued, say, than, for example, this area on this petal. Let me bring this up closer to the camera. These two here are from my archive stash because I don't really throw anything away. And these are probably 5 years old. So you can see once they go a little bit more cream, they hold that cream color for a very, very long time. And don't get me wrong, I think this is acceptable. I don't have a problem with that color. They're not really a brown yellow per se, but they're not as good as they could be, and hence a good example for color enhancing. And as I mentioned a minute ago, these are only about a year old, but you can see how they're already going this cream. This is a 4-ounce container of 50% vinegar to 50% alcohol. So it's just a ratio. It's a 1-to-1 ratio. I prefer fabric paints because for the most part, and you'll hear me talking about testing in other videos and again in this playlist as we go forward, it's more compatible with a lot of adhesives if you're using things like contact paper or cold laminate that has adhesives and that type of thing on it. And the other thing is it talks about feels soft and it's permanent. So feels soft is an important buzzword to me. Both this one, and here's a different brand, and this one, soft touchable paint, fabric dye, although it's really more of a paint than it is a dye, and you know, like a Ritz dye, it's more of a paint than a Ritz type dye consistency. But they both say touchable or flexible. So we're just going to concentrate on these items today, and then I'll talk about this in just a minute. If I'm doing an arrangement and I'm only need one flower, let's say I've got a couple of flowers already on there that I've color enhanced already, and now I'm going, oh, this particular flower would be good with this arrangement, but I don't have one, and I just want to do a 1 or 2 off for color enhancing, and I don't already have something mixed up like this container, which we'll talk more about in a minute, and all I have, for example, is something like this, then what I will do is I will take some of the paint and then I will just put a little on my brush. That should be enough for one flower. And this is just a piece of label paper. You can use wax paper, parchment paper, anything that's non-absorbent. I'll put a drop of my medium off to the side, and then I'll just start to use a little bit of medium in the paint and thin it down to what I think is going to be a consistency that will work. And as you play around with it, you'll start to get a feel. Okay, so let's try that. You want to think about how the flower is growing, where it attaches, and in this case it attaches at the center. So you want to start from where it attaches and work out. And if you think you have a little bit too much liquid on the brush, you can always, this is absorbent paper that I have the flower on. I always paint on absorbent paper. But if I think I have too much liquid, I'll put a little bit off first. All right, so we're just going to go around. Now that's more than enough paint here. And hopefully my hands aren't in the way, and I'm working around the camera, which is very, very awkward. So you can see that light, and I'm also going to do the center too, since this is a yellow flower. Work it off, work it off. You want to work the excess off onto the paper. And then real quickly, I'll get my tweezers, and you want to get up under there before it starts sticking to the paper. You're going to wiggle your paper around. You see how it's starting to come up? Get up under there carefully. And sometimes you might want to take your tweezers and move it. And I try to just use the tweezer as a spatula, and I didn't get my best tweezers. And then lift it. And then put it over on some non-stick paper, or a label, back of a label or something like that. So let me get, here's the back of the label paper that I was using, and put it on there to dry. For this one, we are going to use a lemon yellow, which will be more, well, a brighter yellow. I'm going to put a drop of medium down, and then this is the lemon yellow. Some of that on the brush. I've got way too much paint for just one. Gonna need some more medium. Way too much paint for just one, but you'll start to get a feel for it. But you kind of see where, I don't know how to explain the consistency. It's, you bring it up toward the camera. It's pretty wet, but yet you can see where it's leaving, a tint. So this should be about right. We'll find out. Get something to hold the center. Start from the middle and work out. Get around the camera the other way. Work it off, work it off. You don't want to leave much on there. You're just laying a real thin tint. And then get up under there. I got my other tweezers now. You've seen me talk about these before. See how I bent the tips in so that way when I get up under there, that's another technique. Hopefully I can, I found an air hole. This way, if I need to get into the center to help hold it, you can see where it doesn't touch the paint area. So let's lay this down on our sheet. It's a little seed right here. See if we can get that seed off. We'll get it off when I have two hands. Now I don't know if you can tell the difference, but one is a little bit more vibrant than the other. This one's still wet, so we'll wait a minute for it to dry. If I want to do, let's say, more than one flower. Let's say I'm going to do still a small segment where I don't want to, or I don't have something mixed up in a bottle. I like these because then you can put a little paint in the well, you can put your medium over in a well next to it, and then you can mix, and you can mix up a bigger quantity. And then you can probably use this for, you know, quite a few flowers. It depends on how deep you fill the well with your paint. So you can just play around with that and mix more. If on the other hand you know that you like something and you want to make a lot because you want to have it done, you don't want to fiddle with just doing this little dab, will do you here and there, then get yourself a plastic bottle. I prefer ones that I can see through, so I can see what color paint in the container, as well as I can see how much is left in the bottle. And I go by ratios. And so I would start out, get your bottle, and I'd start out with maybe, what's that, maybe less than a quarter of a bottle, or maybe a quarter of a bottle. And then add your medium, maybe about 50-50, and then shake it up, and then test. And then once you test, for example, let me clean my brush, so we're starting with a clean brush, and I'll show you. I'll just, that's how thin that is, which is actually even thinner than what we just mixed over here. So let's use this on a flower. Let me get a clean piece of paper. Let's put the flower down here. What I like about these containers is I don't generally use, most of the stuff that I do is smaller, and I don't usually use a brush that's bigger than this container. And if I did use a brush that's bigger than this container, then I would pour some out into something else so that I could get a bigger brush into it. You can always makeshift that. But generally speaking, all of my most of my things are done with smaller brushes. So I like these wider mouth ones. I can just stick my brush down in, and then I can knock a little excess out. And again, we're going to start from the middle and work out. Well, I started editing the video and realized that the whole last section that I did got cut out. So I'm back down here filming the end. So if it seems a little bit scattered, that's why. Basically, what didn't get captured on film was we had put our color enhanced flowers on this back of this label paper, and I went to take it off, and the comment that I had made is that the back of this label paper evidently isn't totally non-absorbent, because as I was taking these off, this one stuck to the paper in the corner, and I was demonstrating how I was trying to tease it off as I realized that it was stuck by, you know, doing twisting. Sometimes if you twist side to side like this, or if you run your tweezers under it like that, you can alleviate the sticking. But it broke and it tore, so that's what happened. I should have used the front side of the label paper or wax paper or something else that was less absorbent than this, because you don't want any absorbency at all, because it will stick. Or once in a while I'll go back and I'll move them after a couple of minutes just to make sure they don't stick. So that's how that one got torn. I was moving them off this paper. So I wanted to show you the results. This was the first one that we did. This one was the one that was a little bit more lemon yellow. And this one was the last one out of the bottle. And this one is thinner, has more water in it. Maybe the formula that I used in that bottle had a higher proportion of water, because some of the formulas I have some water added. I actually like these results better because, as you can see, we didn't get any buckling at all on these two, whereas we did with this. So I would say that this formula has more water in it, because that would be the main differences, and some of the bottles that I've done have more water than less water. And then this one is one that wasn't color enhanced at all. So I just wanted to show you the difference. Now, some of this kind of buckling can occur, but it's not a real problem in the sense that we'll put this on paper. This is just copy paper. And then, and this is what you do when you're done. You want to make sure that they're dry, which these are dry now. You want to sandwich it between paper. You want to put it in a book, and then you want to put another book or some weight on top. And leave them there for storage until you're ready to use them. And after they sit overnight in a book, or a couple days, however long it takes for you to do a project, when you expose them again, they'll be back to being flat. And that's why you want to put weight on them. So this one that's all buckled up now, once I put weight on it for a day or so, it will be flat and look like the other ones. So hopefully you found this helpful, and you can go ahead and make yourself a little medium, get some paints. It doesn't have to be fabric paints, it's just, I prefer that, and play around and see what works for you and have fun. That's what it's all about, is having fun. And if you stayed to the end, I really appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in, and you have a wonderful day.